Alhamdulillah, we're making very good progress, ayah by ayah, through Surah Al-Baqarah. Yesterday we discussed the verse, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ آمِنُوا كَمَا آمَنَ النَّاسِ قَالُوا أَنُؤْمِنُ كَمَا آمَنَ السُّفَهَاءُ. That when it is said to them, those people with diseased hearts, the mufsid, the corrupt person or the corrupter, why don't you believe as the people believe? قَالُوا, they say, أَنُؤْمِنُ كَمَا آمَنَ السُّفَهَاءُ. Why should we believe as these fools believe? Allah hits them back with the same phrase, أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ السُّفَهَاءُ, that these are the fools. وَلَكِنْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ, but they do not know. The next ayah is also a direct quotation of what these same people say. But there is a contradistinction in this next verse. In the previous ayah, it was general. When they're generally found and you ask them to believe like others, they say that vile phrase that these are fools. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in this ayah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَإِذَا لَقُوا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا قَالُوا آمَنَّا وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ قَالُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَهْزِئُونَ. When it is said to them, when they meet the believers, so when they're in the company of the believers. So the previous ayah was general, this is when they are in the company of believers. When it is said to them, why don't you believe? قَالُوا آمَنَّا. In front of them they say, we do believe. So immediately what these two ayahs do, again, there's a juxtaposition of these two phrases. It goes to show that the people with diseased hearts, they are two-faced. They have two faces depending on the company that they're in. And this is something that we have to be alert in our own selves. That when we're in good gatherings, our iman is such that we feel strong in faith. But when we go into the company of people who don't necessarily embody iman, taqwa, tahara, cleanliness, good faith, good morals, good speech, our own speech slips. Our own morals slip. Our own bars that we set for ourselves in terms of personal conduct begin to slip. Now there is something natural about that. It would be unnatural to maintain a constant level of high iman. And that's why the Quran constantly reminds us to ask for forgiveness. However, that does not stop us from being aware of that dip. So the first thing to learn from here, to reflect from here, is being in the company of good people, one, it induces good speech. So rather than them saying fools, this time they said we believe. Whether they believe or they don't, at least their speech is righteous. However, the Quran then again opens them up. These are people who try to hide things. وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَى شَيَاطِينِهِمْ. When they're alone in the company of their devils, قَالُوا إِنَّا مَعَكُمْ. They say to them, we are absolutely with you. Not them believers. إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُسْتَهْزِئُونَ. We were just mocking them. We were making a mockery of them. So there's a lot to say here in a short amount of time. The first thing is, shayatinihim is a very loaded phrase. Imagine you call somebody a shaitan. How hurtful would that be to them? Of course, nobody would want to be called a shaitan. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you can imagine his anger of those people who cause you to say bad things about the believer. He describes them as shayatinihim. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us a stark warning that if you go into someone's company and you find that your iman is slipping, don't see them as friends, see them as foe. Foe means enemy. So this is a really big lesson for us. We love to have a wide range of friends. In fact, this society is now set up to maximize your followers, whether it's real life or virtual, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, whether it's YouTube views. We're just bothered about maximizing numbers. And that in itself is a very dangerous lens and prism to look through. Because the Quran is not saying try and just get anyone and everyone, but it's saying be specific about the people you select to be in your company. Because very quickly, if you get the wrong people, you will slip. The other thing to be aware here is the word khalaw. What khalaw means alone, when they're alone with their shayatinihim. Now, the Arabic syntax and grammar, you would expect the phrase to be وَإِذَا خَلَوْا بِهِ شَيَاطِينِهِمْ. Bihi shayatinihim would mean that it's people within their ranks, within their groups. So for example, I've got a whole host of good friends, I've got a whole host of bad friends, they're all my age, they're all like me, they're all similar to me. So it would be وَإِذَا خَلَوْا بِهِ شَيَاطِينِهِمْ. So when I'm with the good guys and when I'm with the bad guys. But ila in the Arabic means someone who you look up to, someone who is above you. So what the Quran is saying, that those people who in the company of people relinquish in one sense their iman and their morals and start saying to them people, no, we don't really accept all that, that's just, hocus pocus, we're actually really in with you guys. Those people are your true leaders. So the Quran is saying that you might come to the believers dressed in a really nice jubbah, in a really nice hat, and a turban, and a tasbih, and everything else. But if when you leave that company, you're changing your attitude to the deen, then it wasn't those people that were your heart's leaders. Ila shayatinihim, your heart's leaders were those people. And that's why you have to ask your heart, who is your leader? Is it going to be the people of Iman, or is it going to be the people of Mufsid? Is it going to be the Mufsideen? So it's a really important question to genuinely ask yourselves. Because we always, I have to illustrate these things with examples. When we go into the company of others, for example, if there's a boy who's texting a girl, they're not married, it's an improper relationship, and that girl says, oh, when you're in good company, you do this, but when you're with me, you do this. And you at that point can't hold your iman and taqwa and say, yeah, that's just like, I just do that as a side. That's just, that's not really serious. I'm more serious about you. Do you see where your mind has wandered? This ayah makes it crystal clear. Whereas the reward for at that specific point, saying, I fear Allah, is one of the highest rewards that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can grant a young man. The reason I pick up that example is because the whole fabric of society and the rubric of society is based around marriage in Islam. So a strong marriage begins with loyalty and wholesomeness, and that concept of being able to say, I fear Allah, and close other doors to myself. So there's so much to say here. The last thing I just want to say is reflecting on these two ayahs together, that in one company they say one thing, in the other company they say other. This is what we call two-facedness. When we are alone, we have to be very particular about our company. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us good company. This is one of the biggest gifts that we can get at this time. Because there are many good people, but we just have to, our nafs has to take the sacrifice. Because we think the grass is greener on the other side. But actually, if you look at the longest academic study ever done in the history of science, it's published in the Lancet, which is one of the highest impact factor journals, one of the most reputable journals. They commented that the happiest human beings, and they looked at every aspect, from wealth, cars, material, to all sorts of things that you can imagine. They found that the happiest human beings are those who have stable families. And that's something that is a big gift if you have it in this day and age, and something that should be treasured. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from the diseases of the heart. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ennoble us, and not only may Allah give us good company, but may we be good company as well. That when people talk to us, they talk about Iman, and they talk about good morals and good ikhlaq. Tomorrow inshallah we'll try to focus on 2 ayahs. These 2 ayahs will be about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala perceives all of these actions and how He describes it as a trade. And then finally, concluding this part, probably the day after and the day after, it'll take 2 sessions, we're going to reflect on 2 examples. They are the very first examples that the Quran gives, and I'm really excited to talk about them with you in a couple of days inshallah. Please, I hope you're enjoying this series. I know it's hard, having the fast the whole day and the tarawih, but I really do hope you're benefiting from this. I certainly am benefiting from it, and it's helping me improve my own character, so I thank you for that. وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ.